One of the huge privileges for me here in Winchester and for Winchester Baptist Church has been being a bridge church and a bridge person in what God has been doing in the city. Baptist churches often are bridge churches because we combine both renewal and tradition, and so can relate to all of the wings of the churches in a town or a city. And I have the privilege of chairing Mission Winchester. It's the networking of a number of the renewed evangelical churches for mission. Churches Together happens in the city as well and is fabulous, but the main movers and shakers are the Mission Winchester churches. And I found myself a bridge, and this church has as well. We've been kind of caught up in it. It's been a huge privilege. It's happened over about 10 years, and highlights were a number of years ago when we called the city to pray and fast, and all of the churches joined in across the board for things like the foot and mouth disease and other crises that there have been national and international. And then we did something called the Feast. To start with, that was just the Mission Winchester churches. At that stage, only 6 churches doing, nicking an event from the New Frontiers Church in the city and building on it, where we fed food to people in the city at lunch times. We went and tidied up the area. We had kids work. We had a mission event. All of these things. It was very, very successful and a huge privilege. The greatest work was really working on the high street, seeing how many other Christians there were from other churches in the city. And then we did Feast too, and there were 14 churches that joined us for that. A number of the other churches wanted to join it, and it was a whole lot larger. And then we built on that. It was a strategy, really, a 5-year strategy of mounting different steps of, if you like, climbing different mountains so you could then see the next event that was to come. So with mine to the final event, which is J-John, which I'll explain in a moment, we did something called the Winchester Passion, which was a sewing event, parable, really, telling of the message of Jesus on the street. Every single church in the city joined in on that, and the university, the army, loads of people from the arts, the city council were very behind it. They kept asking us, how many people do you expect? And we just had no idea. How do you measure how many people might turn out? If it's the Christians, that's 4,500. We hope they'll bring their friends. So we conservatively said 5 if the weather's good. And in the end, 12,000 turned out on the most freezing day of the year on March the 21st, 2008. And it was a real highlight for us as a church. In truth, there wasn't a huge take-up for some of the Inquirers courses we did afterwards. We recognised it was a sewing event. There has been growth and comeback from all of our events. We found more people joining the churches of the city, and a sense of renewal between us, a greater sense of unity. So there has been measured fruit. But it's not as simple as you press a button here and the fruit comes over there. But there has been fruit. But we recognised it was a sewing event. But our next stage was to invite J-John to come and do Just 10. And that's what he's doing after Easter this year, 2009, for 10 weeks. And many of the churches, not all of them, but most of the churches of the city are behind this. It's being hosted at the cathedral. The cathedral is our hub for so many of these events. And we're linking it via high-speed broadband connection at £1,000 a month to other churches in the city, which will be hubs for it. And people from the region are coming as well. So if you like, that's our harvesting strategy. We're very, very key to that as a church. Christchurch is the one that's the main driving force behind this event. And then what is happening in parallel with that is we've been trained by a gentleman called Mark Marks, who is from the Causeway Coast Vineyard, in something on healing on the streets. Again, with so many of the things that we do, and I've pioneered this with the Vineyard very closely working with me. We wouldn't just do it ourselves as a church. It's not sustainable. I mean, if you've got to have a big team out, your church is exhausted on that. So we have 6 churches of the city that are joining us on that, and a number of others that are watching and going to join us, they say, in the future, seeing how it's going. We've been doing it for 8 months now. We have a team of 80 people across the churches who go out in a month, so that's 20 every Saturday. So we do it by rotation. For example, I'm out every 3rd Saturday with the team that I'm part of, and we unashamedly offer prayer to people for whatever their needs are. It comes under the banner of healing. In fact, we have a huge banner that says healing, and we hand out leaflets to people, but it's an excuse, whatever their needs are, to show that Christ cares for them and that Christians are there on the streets. In the winter months when we've frozen ourselves to bits on the streets, the buskers aren't there, but the Christians are there every Saturday afternoon to pray for people's needs. And I have to say, it is the most cost-effective way of reaching the city that we've come across yet. Every Saturday we pray for people. It varies. Typically it's 20 people every Saturday, but it varies from 3 on a miserably cold day when there isn't the crowd to generate the numbers, to 40 last Saturday. And many weeks people come back who've been prayed for on previous weeks. Some of them come back to say, I felt such incredible peace and I want more of that. Would you pray for me again? Others come back to tell us how the Lord has healed them. Actually, we've had a number of remarkable stories of people who have been changed and lumps disappearing from people as we pray for them, people's pain going, and people of other faiths being touched as well by this and welcoming the prayer, welcoming the atmosphere. It's a tremendous model. It is low hype. It's very respectable, so it meets our culture and it meets Britain. And it's going to be something that goes on throughout J. John and afterwards. And in fact, in other cities, so Newcastle, their follow-up to the Just 10 mission has been healing on the streets. So we find ourselves right in the flow of what's happening nationally. And it's just a huge privilege, and it's a huge privilege for us as Winchester Baptist Church to be so much in the hub of it with our brothers and sisters from other congregations.